Welcome to yet another session on ensuring quality and rigor in a PhD thesis. So, today we would discuss what an examiner would be looking at in your thesis at the time of evaluation. Although different universities are having different rules and regulations regarding appointing a panel of examiners to adjudicate a PhD thesis, mostly an examiner would be an expert in your area of research, having a minimum of at least 6 years of experience in academics. So, the content for today's presentation is based on my personal experience and also based on the materials or the evaluative reports of various PhD theses, some of which are available online also. Let's see what are the aspects that an examiner would be looking at in your research to get an overall impression of your research. So, the most important aspect is the kind of scientific rigor that you have in your research. It starts from the very formulation of your research problem. How have you looked into the theoretical basis of the research and how you have connected your research with the previous researchers in that area? It actually indicates the command of the researcher about the research field and also the knowledge that he or she would be having in that particular area and how effectively the person have used the literature. Similarly, coming to research process. What about the command of a researcher about the appropriate methodology and with how much of clarity the person have defined the concepts being used in research? So whether the researcher is able to highlight the societal and practical relevance of the research. So altogether, an examiner would be looking at the quality and carefulness of the research. So here in this slide, I have put some of the comments that some of the examiners have given to various theses. One, comment is vagueness in the definition of goals and scope of the thesis. So, what should we do in an introductory chapter? We need to provide a precise picture of the research goals and the scope of our research. We should not be, depending on a very general question. What exactly the researcher would focus and how he or she would approach the issue. That should be clear in your introductory chapter. Look at another comment from an evaluator. Your argument that X is a key question, but you have not provided necessary amount of the text, literature devoted to this topic that correspond with this declaration. So based on the existing literature, how you will come up with a logical argument with adequate evidences. That's a challenge before a researcher. So generally in the introduction chapter, you will be stating your problem, you would be putting your research questions and also discuss the motivation of the study. And you will give a proper understanding about the context, the wider context causing the question, and also the importance of findings. So this should be very specific and shouldn't be vague and general. This is one important aspect which we should keep in mind. Now coming to the literature review chapter. An examiner would be looking at whether the researcher have a very comprehensive and up-to-date up-to-date literature presented, how much of a command that the researcher is having on the literature, and whether the researcher have simply described various literatures, or whether he or she have made an attempt to use this literature to contextualize the problem which she or he would be exploring through her research. Whether there is a discussion based on the literature. Let's see some comments from the evaluators. The first comment is a positive one. The candidate is having considerable familiarity with the published works in the area. Well, look at the other two comments. The second comment, the theme of the study is anchored to a particular area, and yet the candidate is not familiar with some of the important works in this area undertaken by Indian scholars. And the third comment, the review of literature simply lists the various studies without critiquing them and identifying the issues involved. So these comments will help us to understand the importance which we need to give to the review of literature chapter, and how we should be analyzing the the literature, and connect and thematically connect the literature, so that we would be able to identify the gaps in the literature, so that we can contextualize our research. See, this is a very critical comment, where the examiner have looked into the literature cited by the scholar, and see the comment. So out of 180 references, 15.55% relate to studies published prior to 1980. The bulk of literature on industrial sociology and sociology of work in India and abroad published in the 1980s and thereafter has been ignored. Updating becomes essential. So it clearly indicates that it is not how many references you have or how many pages you have written. That's not the aspect. Have you done justice by looking at all the relevant and significant literature in the area, and how you have brought all these in your research? Then coming to the use of theory. So the examiner would be looking at whether the research scholar have a proper understanding about the theoretical positions, and whether the researcher could logically interpret the related theories, and whether the researcher have taken up appropriate theories that aligns with the questions discussed through the research. So sometimes, we would be having a tendency to list all the related theories, but we would fail to connect that with our research. So look at this particular, comment from the examiner. The scholar have listed all theories related to the area of study, but have not stated which theory is more appropriate for his or her theory, say, study. Or sometimes the examiner might also says the person have written all the theories in maybe in the meteorology chapter or in some other chapters, but have not used those theories at the time of discussing the findings. So theory is something that should be helping you to build your arguments, and something that gives strength to your research. And similar is the case with the methods. An examiner, an evaluator will be looking at your methodology chapter to see whether you have used the appropriate methodology, whether you have described each and every steps in your scientific process in detail, whether the methodology you have presented, you have justified, aligns with the question addressed through the research and the theory, and how you have used the methods, and whether the researcher have demonstrated the advantages and disadvantages of the method that the person have used. Are you aware of the limitations of your study, the methods used? What are the tools you used? How have you validated your tools? If you taken some scales, did you get the necessary permissions or copyrights? And whether you had to transcribe or translate your tool to another language, how did you validated that translated tool? All this have to be mentioned clearly in your methodology chapter. And coming to results or analysis, again, it is the appropriateness, alignment with the question or the hypothesis that raised, whether the results are well presented and interpreted in an intelligent way. These are, the aspects they look into. So the thing which we need to be careful is, rather than being descriptive, mere description, there should be a thorough discussion of how the findings are related to the general discussion of the problem in the literature. So you should be going back to the literatures, the theories, and then you should show the real skill of a researcher in interpreting the findings. So some of these comments will help us to understand it better. So the comment 1, carried out more like a survey report. So it just list what the raw data as such. It requires a deeper analysis with a research flavor. And sometimes, our research may be having a quantitative and qualitative part, or maybe a quantitative research as such. But if the number of samples are very, very minimum, then the examiners would question the way how you would be using percentages, as because sometimes it would be misleading, and in such cases it might be better for us to give the absolute numbers. And another such specific comment where that also points towards the need to have a more carefulness from the part of researcher. So this comment, while dealing the marital status of the respondents, the category divorced was included, although none of them belong to that. If none of our participants are divorced, then why you need to keep that as a category? So the most important takeaway from this is that data should not be presented in its raw form. We need analysis and interpretation. And coming to the discussion or the conclusion part, an examiner would check if findings are summarized, whether the perspective which are provided in this section refers to the arguments or questions posed in the introductory chapter, whether there is an overall cohesion, whether the researcher is discussing the strengths and weaknesses, whether the researcher provides implications and applications to the discipline, or whether he or she discusses future directions for research. And to look into your recommendation part. Sometimes, we will do the entire research and the recommendation may not be grounded with the data, by the data which you have, uh, you know, collected and presented in your thesis. So we should highlight the points which in our opinion constitute a significant or original contribution to the knowledge in our domain. Or identify the areas where we can have more possibilities of research. And an examiner, while checking your thesis, would be identifying, these aspects and would be making very specific observations made by candidate that which require a revision or clarifications, and you may get, questions on that at the time of Viva. Another major aspect that an examiner looks into is the presentation and language, and also the command of sources. So the thesis should not contain any grammatical or spelling errors which would complicate the reading. And also we should be very careful in avoiding repetition of ideas, the same ideas coming in multiple chapters and multiple paragraphs. And we should make sure, we should have the carefulness to avoid any typographical errors or grammatical mistakes. Look at the comments. It is written in a coherent, although not necessarily always formally proper style. And the examiner have given an example, why they have mentioned like that. Using us for the person of the author. So our thesis is an individual effort, right? So as in a person, if you have done the research, why you want to use the term us? And the second comment, in general, satisfactory attention has been paid to overall appearances of the thesis despite minor errors. The minor errors they have mentioned in citation, missing citations, or spellings. So having said this, in the coming 2 slides, I will be discussing some of the pointers that an examiner would be having in mind while reading or going through a thesis for evaluation. They would be checking whether the work of the scholar is original. Second point, does it also build on previous work in the area? Does it add to the existing knowledge in that field? Whether the literature presented are complete, current, and accurate. Then coming to the methodology part, where the data analyzed using standard procedures. If it is an experimental study, whether the experiments were done keeping proper control groups. Or if it is a statistical study, whether the data analyzed using widely accepted statistical techniques. If it is a qualitative study, whether the person have followed each and every steps listed for that particular approach. And does a student or a scholar admit any study limitations or any weaknesses? How elaborately the scholar have looked into all these dimensions. Some other questions they have in mind include, are the results given with enough detail? Whether the scholar have made an attempt to justify the conclusions. And at an overall level, is the work presented clearly and without errors? Does the student have a good understanding of the work done? And has the student evaluated his or her work critically? So these are a few questions that, in fact, help the examiner to, have an overall impression about the research. So I have also, showing you rubrics, that some of the Western universities are using to, evaluate the thesis, and also a rubric which they use at the time of Viva. So this rubrics for thesis looks into four dimensions: overall quality of theory or science. So they would be looking whether, the arguments, made through the research is coherent, clear, or superior. Whether the scholar have defined objectives clearly. Whether the researcher exhibit or demonstrate critical thinking skills. Whether the researcher exhibit mastery of subject matter and associated literature. Whether the researcher demonstrate mastery of theoretical concepts. What about the demonstration of originality, creativity, and insight? Then the second point is the contribution of the research to the discipline. So whether the particular research taken by the candidate extends previous research. Or what about the significance of the research at the theoretical and applied area? And what about the potential of this particular research for publication? And the third dimension is quality of writing. Whether your writing is adequate, weak, or whether your writing is of a publication quality. Whether your writing has grammatical and spelling errors. How you have organized your research, whether it is logical, whether how you have documented your thesis. And with all these, they would be looking into an overall assessment whether it meets expectations or does not meet expectations. This actually in a way summarizes the discussions we had so far. And similarly, a little bit, because thesis evaluation contains both an evaluation of the written thesis and also the Viva. So here is rubrics for Viva. The areas they focus are the overall quality of presentation. That includes how organized is the presentation, how clear is the present, whether it is a professional way of presentation. What about the communication skills of the researcher, and whether the slides and handouts are clear or not. The second aspect is the overall breadth of knowledge. So whether the presentation reveals an in-depth knowledge of the scholar in that particular subject. Whether the presentation reflects the critical thinking skills of the researcher, or how the researcher is capable of drawing from the knowledge in several disciplines to put his or her arguments. And it is the defending of your thesis, right? So the quality of response to the questions that comes during the time of Viva. Whether you are providing satisfactory and complete responses, and whether you are able to skillfully present your arguments, and whether you exhibit an adequate knowledge in the area. And that's how we can evaluate the quality of response. And finally, the use of communication aids. So at the time of presentation, what are the communication aids you have used? what about the appropriateness of the information included, and how you have organized the information, and whether you are simply reading out the slides, or what about your reliance on this communication aids during the presentation. So I think these two rubrics will give a kind of a idea about what are the things that we need to keep in mind right from the beginning of our research, so that we would be able to meet the expectations of evaluators, and we can ensure, and in that way we can also ensure the quality and rigor in our thesis. So these are some of the references which I have used to make this presentation. So thank you everyone. We'll meet again with another related topic. Thank you.